Welcome to the Do Zone, where entrepreneurs go to get things done. I'm your host, Josh Thomas. You can find me on all social media at JT Literally. Each week, I bring on experts from a variety of backgrounds to share their secrets on how to optimize performance so you can take massive action and crush your goals. Do Zone is sponsored by Fast Track Funnels, the new way to bring in consistent daily sales for your business in 2025 without cold outreach or burning cash on ads. We use this method to a brand new business to generate more than $100,000 cash collected in less than 30 days. And download the free step-by-step blueprint that shows exactly how we did it at getconversions.net. Once again, that's getconversions.net. Today's guest is David Fastuca. David is a revenue growth master. He generated an impressive $150 million sales pipeline at Locomote.com and is a two-time exited founder, over 30 million. His expertise turns challenges into opportunities, helping businesses thrive in any economy. His CMO experience brings another angle to the training offered in Growth Forum. David, welcome to the Do Zone. Tell us something you believe is the key to getting stuff done that most people wouldn't think of.
Well, firstly, thank you for having me on the show. And the one thing, and it's probably one of the most simplest things you can do, is actually time block the allocated time you need to get that thing done on your calendar and make it a non-negotiable. If you do that, you will get more done.
Time blocking. You know, let's expand on that because I've heard don't time block. I've heard time block. I've heard time block
Really?
this way and time block that way. And so tell us about your unique method for this because there's a lot of different opinions out there. And I know we have different brains and different personalities, but what works for you and how do you keep it on track when life doesn't agree with your time block?
Yeah, no, and that's completely fair, right? So, look, everyone is different in how they manage their day to day within their work. For me, it's by my calendar. I have a lot of meetings. So if I need to actually get things done, I need to allocate the right amount of time for them. So I use a cool tool called Motion. There's a bit of AI built into it. So I slot in the task that I want to get done for that week, just put in the priority, how long I want to spend on that any given task, and if it's a priority two, three, or one. And if I, for whatever reason, don't tick it off, then I'll reschedule it for me. Like I said, life happens, right? So if all of a sudden one of the kids gets sick and I need to pick them up from school and I miss that hour and a half block task that I have, it will reschedule it for me. If it doesn't allow me to reschedule, then I'll highlight it as you're going to miss this deadline. What do you want to do? Delete it, extend the deadline. So at least I'm aware of what's happening. Without having this in place, I think you're sort of struggling to get things done. You might have a never-ending building list of to-dos, and things can get fall through the cracks. So, yeah, it's not for everyone, but it's definitely a go-to. And I've tried to find other things, but I always come back to this method because it just works.
Yeah, and it's certainly something that kind of you have to craft for your personal style. Because the one thing that I've found about time blocking specifically that's really important is tight deadlines. Because our bodies and our brains operate on these kind of natural schedules and they kind of refresh and reset. 24 hours is one of them. 7 days is actually another natural schedule, not only because our weeks are 7 days, but there's been some research that shows our body actually does kind of go through these 7 day cycles. And so the idea behind time blocking is I want to make sure that I'm only allotting enough time to actually get this thing done, not enough time for me to go off and procrastinate and think about something else for a while and then come back and do it. That tight deadline kind of forces you to stay in action mode.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, it's a bit of a muscle. It's like going to the gym. You need to actually work on it to get used to it. But once you do and you start to see the results, then you a little bit become addicted to it.
Right. Yeah. Until that procrastination pizza comes along and then you're like, hmm.
That's it. Well, you can never deny a good slice.
So So, a few things that I know you like to talk about that I'm also just keen to hear your perspective on is let's talk about you've got a lot of experience in creating a lot of sales momentum. What actually drives buyer decisions from all of the things that you've seen, cutting through all the old school tactics and everything that people have done and tried and sworn by before? What's the actual thing that drives a buyer decision?
Well, it's really understanding, like if you take a step back, it's understanding, really understanding who your buyer is. So from a deep, deep level, knowing their pain points, knowing their roles, what their key goals within their business needs to be done. So once you have a fundamental, strong understanding of that, then if you're reaching out to them, it's coming up to them with a real perspective, something that's going to help them achieve their goals within their business. Now, if you're reaching out to someone cold, the law is they're only 3% are ready to buy. So you're hitting people, quite cold. So what do you do there? That's where your nurturing program sort of kicks in. But the thing comes down to if I understand you and what you're trying to achieve in your business, and it's in your top priorities that you want to get done, you're going to make a decision either way. Where now this depends whether someone's come inbound to you. So inbound, whether they've inquired on your website, there's a bit of higher level of intent that they're showing there. So obviously those deals there have a bit of a quicker time to convert versus those who you're potentially reaching out to cold. And so persuading those to convert into a customer can be often a bit of a challenge. So that's when it comes down to spending that time to really get to know them, earn the right to get onto their calendar. And you do that by having a real clear point of view for something that can move the needle for their business.
Yeah, being clear is one of those things that surprisingly most people aren't aware. That's like a cheat code, you know, makes sense when you talk.
Yeah, it is. It's often we overlook it, right? It's one of those easy things to go, okay, I'm just going to do a basic ideal customer profile, and then they're quite vanilla. You do it once, it sits on the shelf, and then you just go off and start hitting and spraying on everyone. So what we sort of prescribe is it's something that should be evolving. After every interaction, after every call you have, is there a bit of a data point that you can use to update your buyer persona and your ICP? So then you can have a really clear definition as to who's in your market, who you're targeting, because the saying is always true. Those who are closest to their customer are the ones that win. So if you think about all those interactions that you have, you're getting all these data points as to what they've said, whether it's a negative or a positive. So you should always be keeping those data sets and those buyer persona profiles updated on a regular rather than letting them collect dust.
And that is why do you think people don't do that? You know, why if that seems essential to success, specifically in sales, why is it that just back to the time blocking thing? What happens when everything gets knocked off? Like, how do people fall off of that? Because it makes a lot of sense, but it's also kind of not the norm.
Yeah, I think it's about making it a priority. So if you, depending on how you run your weeks, you might do an end of week, stand up or whip with the team and go, okay, based on, we've done collectively, we've reached out to 200 prospects. What have we learned about those prospects? What are some of our assumptions that we had? Here's our buyer persona. It's, Frank, the CFO. Let's have a look at it. It's up on the screen, whether it be, if you're all together in the office or remotely, then it's what are these assumptions that we need to challenge based on the conversations that we had. But that can only happen if you actually build that into your practice, into the rhythm of your team stand up, that you actually are doing that. If you're left to, okay, guys, when you find some new data points, just go in and update it, you'll find that it might get a few interactions and then will slowly die off because it's not something that they're engaging with. It's not something that is a must do. So if you have build that into your process, you'll find that it will evolve on the ongoing.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So, and one more question I have for you about There's a lot of noise out there, and as marketers, as entrepreneurs, as people who are trying to get attention in this noise, it's becoming increasingly more and more difficult to yell louder than the
Yeah.
guy next to me. And even if you can, you're drowned out by the collective noise of everybody. And so, how do you stand out in a world that is so noisy?
Yeah, it's one of the most challenging things, especially with the introduction over the last couple of years with AI. It's never been easier to produce content, and it's never been easier to produce great content with leveraging AI. So now everyone's doing these fancy automations that are doing personalized emails, and I don't think our inbox have ever been slammed more than that have been over the last, 6 to 12 months with outreach from all different types of providers. So this is where what we teach within Grow Forum and what we have written about in our book that we just launched is about creating a multi-channel approach. And what that looks like is not just going out with email, but leveraging all the channels that are available to you. So that would be phone, social, email, SMS, and video. When you combine these into your outreach cadence, you will be able to get the attention of your buyer where they're most relevant and spend time on. So you might lead with the phone, they don't answer, you leave a voicemail, you reference an email, you reach out to them on LinkedIn, and then depending on their channel of preference, they will then at the right time respond back to you. Then you start a conversation there, and then you try and draw them to the main channel of preference that you want to communicate them on, whether it be email or phone. But it's about being where your customer is, and every customer interacts differently. Like we deal with founders, we get some people who love responding to email, others that will respond quicker to a WhatsApp or an instant message, and then we're just going back and forth from there and booking meetings that way. So if you prescribe going down one single channel, you're leaving so much on the table.
And where can people learn a little bit more about what you do and who do you serve?
So you can find out a lot more if you just visit growforum.io, and you can also check out the book on Amazon. It's called the B2B Sales Playbook. It's a tactical guide on how to build a flood of qualified deals for your business. Yeah, I'll definitely start there.
Very well. Hey, we're going to wrap from here. Thanks so much to our guest, David Fastuca, for sharing a little bit of wisdom about how he gets things done. For those of you who are interested in learning more about what he does, you can go to growthforum.io. And hey, if you're out there uh, boxing kangaroos or doing some splits on the highway, or maybe you're just on your morning commute, snap a selfie, tag me at JT Literally. Show me what you're doing while you're in the do zone. And one more time, if you want daily sales and a full calendar of prospects who want what you have, download the Fast Track Funnels Blueprint for free at getconversions.net. That's it. Let's get to work.